Hello and welcome to another episode of the Why We Travel podcast. Today we want to talk about a family that has traveled to a ton of countries and want to find out how that actually works. So with me on the show, I have Chantal Patton. Chantal and her family have been to 118 countries altogether, and that with their three daughters, and doing this since 2013. So we want to find out more about that. Hi, Chantal. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Klaus?
I'm very well. Chantal,
Nice.
you and your family decided to travel the world all together. So that's something that not a lot of people do, but a lot of people dream of doing. Um, Give me an idea, how did you get to that idea?
Well, I've always loved travel, and my husband has as well. And it didn't really happen intentionally, like, oh, you hear these stories, oh, we sold our house and we started to travel. It wasn't like that at all. We come from a very cold country of Canada, and in the winter months, it's just awful. If you've experienced Canada in the winter for very many months in a row, you kind of get the urge to leave. And so we had a combination between that and a combination between very poor internet and a book called The 4 Hour Work Week. That was back in 2008. That catapulted us to say, what are we doing? Why don't we go south to Florida as you do as a Canadian? And so it started this working remotely atmosphere that we were able to pull off, and we realized that it was going well. And then we always had this goal to go to Europe, and I'm half Swiss, half Canadian, and so I always wanted to get back to Switzerland, and it was always on the top of my goal list. We're very goal-oriented people, so we were always writing down our top goals, and it was always travel, winters south, like all these things, right? And so we just one day we were at a park, and my friend said, you know what, the fees that you're paying for your girls' school, because we were putting them in a paid school in Florida, you could take that money and travel and you can homeschool them. And I thought, well, yeah, okay, homeschool, there's no freaking way I'm going to do that. That was out of the question in my mind, just because I'm working, and to take that on as a responsibility is a whole different level and everything. But it got my head thinking, and I thought, well, what's 5 weeks of school? That's no big deal. And they were very young. I mean, like, how much can you miss when you're learning 2+2, right? So we took them out for 5 weeks, and that innocent 5-week holiday to Europe expanded into 3 months. And then we had the bug. I mean, we were like, oh, what are we doing in Florida? Why are we there when we can be traveling and working remotely? And we tested the time zone differences. We tested, not tested, but we were forced to test it. And we realized we can continue doing what we do. It wasn't easy. And it's still not always easy. Of course, it's not easy, but it was worth it, right, for what we wanted to do. And then it kind of just evolved into that. And then all of a sudden it was like my husband wanted to visit 100 countries. And then all of a sudden now we're actually at 121. And now it's like, well, let's go visit every country in the world, And so it's just like adding another little challenge, or big challenge, you could say, to it. And even greater now, because our daughters have grown up. From when we started, they were leaving to Europe, they were 5, 7, and 9, and now they're 15, 17, 19, and now it's like post-secondary school, boyfriends, like they want normal lives, like all of these things that have added another layer of how is this going to be possible, and can we even pull it off? So yeah.
Okay, so Tim Ferriss with the 4 Hour Work Week has inspired a lot of people, at least trying it. Now,
Yes.
with the goal of visiting every country, I mean, that's a huge goal. I mean, you're well on your way there. I mean, you're 2/3 of the way. But now, as you said, with your kids being almost grown-ups, things change. How did that impact the speed of your travel? Did you slow down, or are you still in the same pace? How does that work?
We're a little bit in the same pace. However, if our daughter gets accepted where she wants to go, she'll be off in September. So we have a very short amount of time, and the other two are already talking about different options and such. So my husband's freaking out because he really wants to do it as a family. And so he's like, how are we going to do this? We're going to have to wait for school holidays again and all these things. So who knows? I don't know. And then, of course, you don't want to do things too fast. Certain countries, yes, you just want to kind of check it off because there's really, honestly, nothing really that you'd want to go there for. But other countries, you want to be there and actually, take it all in, right? And so this whole thing of just going fast doesn't make sense. So we'll see. I mean, it's another added challenge. Maybe things will switch. We're very fluid in our decisions and in what we do. So things change all the time. Plans change, and who knows, maybe the girls will say, okay, we'll do one more year with you guys and do this crazy thing, because I think, I don't know, less people have been to outer space than have been to as many, like all the countries in the world. So it's really something unique. And if we can pull it off, it'll just be a really cool thing that we can say we've done. Yeah. So.
No, definitely a good goal. I have met a traveler last year in Botswana, and he had also about 120 countries, and he said, I can't kill the travel bug. So there's more than one person on the planet trying to get there. Now, I
Yes.
want to go a little bit back when the kids were younger. What were the biggest challenges that you had on the journey in the day-to-day life?
Oh, I mean, I think because we've done it so often, it seems pretty easy to me. Um, and I think for someone who is, let's say, going to start doing this, they would have more challenges to face than what we did because we left and our kids were at an age where they were still quite young. Pulling them out of like their best friends and their routines and such wasn't as big of a deal as, let's say, doing that to an 11 or a 12 or a 13-year-old where they have maybe dance classes or they're in their soccer or they're this or they're that. So I feel like we were at the advantage, and I don't really see that anything was challenging. Like I have 3 easy kids, like, so they're not too picky when it comes to food, and they enjoy spicy food and they don't mind different cultures, and they kind of have this mentality that they enjoy it. So I guess I don't want to make it sound like it's easy because it's not easy, but it is at the same time at that young age. And then they've just grown up with that, knowing that, and so they don't think anything is different or strange about it. So they do now, though. Now they do. Now they're like, Mom, this is not cool. We want our friends. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay. I can imagine that in the beginning, sort of the transition process from being stationary in Canada, having the idea, and then getting to the first couple of countries. That's where the most challenges are. But how did it change you and your husband as a person over time? So what was the Chantal before you started traveling, and who are you now?
Wow, what a great question. Mindset would have changed an awful lot. When you're born in a geographic location, that culture, you're brought up with what your parents taught you, what your environment has kind of taught you, and your mindset is that when you've been into different countries and you see how people do things differently or how their culture is or their religion is, first of all, you have way less fear by traveling. I find that when you haven't traveled, you have fear. You have fear of the cultures and their ways and what are these people like? And then when you start traveling, all of those fears disappear because you realize that everyone in the world is more or less the same, and people are good. People are good. They're not, I'm generalizing, but you're not going to go to Colombia and walk outside at night and just expect everyone to be so nice and good, right? But in general. And so I think, yeah, your mindset changes and you have more acceptability for people. Your expectations are lower. My expectations might have been more high and I might have been more judgmental. And maybe that has changed a little bit with that. And I don't know if the word compassion is the right word, but you have this, or sadness even, to be honest, like when you see certain things, you just think, man, oh man, life's not fair. And why is it not fair for certain groups of people? And I sometimes struggle actually with that, where I'm like, how is it that we were born in a geographically privileged location compared to other people who are just geographically not as blessed as we were, So yeah.
I couldn't agree more. 100% agree with that. I think most travelers come to sort of the same conclusion at the end of the day. On that, Colombia is a great country. It's one of my favorite countries. So you just follow your gut feeling, and then you might be able to walk at night. So when it comes to the kids, what do you think? What kind of difference made it to your kids compared to kids that stay in Canada? So what kind of different person have you raised there?
Wow, completely different. This is phenomenal because we just had gone back. We were away for 4 years, and our girls were kind of looking at everything from an outside view, and they were really like, whoa, this is different, like the way they are and the way, the kids are different there, and just little things that is different for them. And it's funny because it's almost like a reverse culture shock, because when people say, where are they from? It's like, oh, that's where they're from, but they're really not, they don't identify as being from there. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's they've grown in a lot of ways. And I think one of the biggest things is when they see other people maybe complaining, or some of their friends that are maybe going through like a rough time, they have a different perspective of it, and they know what a rough time is, and they've, and I think they see it differently.
100% right. Yeah. So you have sort of reported or done a YouTube channel, and your kids have done a YouTube channel as well. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh, yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, we run a travel channel called Growing Up Without Borders. And the name Growing Up Without Borders came out of the fact that we had already been to 80 countries when we decided to launch this travel channel. And it was really to share what we're experiencing with the world, and to change our travel to make it more of a business, so that we can have it as a business versus just going out and having fun all the time. And it gave us a bit of a purpose, so that when we're going to see a city, we're now going to film it to share it with people that want to see what it's like, or see it from their perspective, from the girls' perspective. And so it's changed everything, and in that regards. And it kind of just came out of the fact that our girls were like, this is what we want to do. This is so much fun. And we're like, okay, we sat down as a family. We're like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're all in, and what is that going to mean? And then we just went for it. And so it's been really fun, and challenging, and fun, and exciting, and like everything. It's been awesome.
Okay.
And I was going to say, Growing Up Without Borders, the name came from the girls. So they are growing up without kind of mental borders. And they've been traveling to so many countries that to them, it's just like one big world. Like they feel like they're from planet Earth versus like, borders. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the mindset of global citizen grows over time on a traveler. You just get annoyed by borders and border controls and this man-made barriers, which does not make sense at all in many cases. So a little bit on the day-to-day business. You're working online, your husband are working online. Did you transfer to finding a job online, or to becoming a online entrepreneur? What was the history there? A lot of listeners probably are interested in how can you finance that?
Yeah, we were always online entrepreneurs. So we started our business back in 2001, and it was all remote. And so everything we did work-wise was so that we wouldn't have to physically be there. Every decision we made was so that we could be free from a location. And so we kind of set that, like I said, we were very, goal-oriented, and we wanted these specific goals. So they were goals for many years before they became a reality. And and so I think just we made those decisions based on our goals and what we wanted as a lifestyle. And so that helped us mold it into what it has. And it's kind of morphed, if you will, over the years, because things change. But we've always been working online.
Okay. Bit of a question is, if you have achieved your goal of, 196 or roughly about 200 countries, what will come after that?
Oh, then it's so much fun, because I don't know if you've ever been to a chocolate factory in Switzerland. At the end, you get to like pick and eat chocolate and sample them, right? And so I feel like that's what we're doing with the world by traveling. And then when we are done, we can go, oh, let's go back to that one and have more of that one, or, and we already are starting to do that. We keep going back to the countries we really enjoy, and we're like, oh, but we've already been there. We really should go to another one. But we're like, it's so tempting,
Okay, that's why I'm in Buenos Aires right now. So it's my second time. So
yeah, and that's in Thailand. I know we've been here many times, so we keep going back.
So I can see the pleasure there of being picky when it comes to countries. Where can people find out more about your family, you, and obviously your YouTube channel?
Yeah, definitely. So we have to interact with us personally, you can go either on Instagram or on Facebook or on Discord. We have a Discord server. And then if you want to follow our journey, it's definitely on YouTube, is where we post all of our long form travel videos, and you can find out about where we're going and what we're doing and what it's like to travel as a family. And then, of course, our website, which is growingupwithoutborders.com.
Okay, I will put all the links in the show notes, and you're just one click away. Before we say goodbye, what's your main golden nugget that you would recommend to someone who wants to start this kind of lifestyle?
Oh, okay. My very first thing would be, do it. Like, don't wait, because things are never going to be perfect. Obviously, people wait and wait and wait, but just do it, because as soon as you take that step, things will start to line up. And then even if they don't go as planned, you'll kind of just get back on the right path, but just take the action, taking that action to doing it. And then my second one is take the action, but also lower your expectations so that you are not as disappointed, because with travel, you always have to expect the unexpected. So if you just lower your expectations and think that everything's going to be messed up, like this is going to be bad, then all of a sudden everything's good and you're happy. But when you go with this mindset that like it should be like this and it should be like that, then you're just miserable. So there's my two cents.
Okay, no, very, very good tips on that side. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, Klaus here. Before you leave, I have a question. Are you a traveler? Do you have a favorite travel destination or favorite travel experiences that you would like to share with the world? Then become a guest on the Why We Travel podcast. Simply message me and I will get you all the details for becoming an interview guest, and then we take it from there. That's it for now. I see you in the next episode and have a great day.